The Shadow in Apartment 406. Lena had always been skeptical of ghost stories. Growing up, she had listened to her grandmother's tales of spirits that lurked in the darkness, but she dismissed them as mere folklore. That changed when she moved into Apartment 406. It was supposed to be a fresh start. The apartment was cheap, a steal in the expensive city. The landlord barely spoke, only handing her the keys with a muttered warning, "Don't leave the closet open at night." Lena laughed it off, assuming it was some old superstition. Her first few nights were peaceful, aside from the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. But then she noticed the closet door. Every morning, it was slightly ajar, though she always made sure to shut it before bed. Maybe the latch was loose? She brushed it off, until the scratching started. At exactly 3:12 a.m., a faint, rhythmic scratching echoed from inside the closet, like nails against wood. Lena sat up in bed, heart hammering. She turned on the light and stared at the door. It was open, just an inch. Swallowing her fear, she walked over and pulled it shut. She placed a chair against it for good measure. Climbing back into bed, she stared at the ceiling, waiting. Silence. The next morning, the chair had been moved. The door was open wider. Lena told herself she was imagining things. Maybe she had moved the chair in her sleep. Sleepwalking, perhaps? That night, she locked the closet door with an old padlock she found in one of the kitchen drawers. Nothing was getting out. At 3:12 a.m., she woke to the sound of something breathing. Deep, slow, raspy breaths. She froze, afraid to move. The air felt thick, oppressive. Her room was dark except for the soft glow of her phone screen on the nightstand. She reached for it, but before she could grab it, bang! The closet door shook violently. The padlock rattled. Something was trying to get out. Lena bolted upright, gasping. The sound stopped instantly. Silence. She sat there, heart pounding, gripping her phone like a lifeline. She didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, she asked her neighbor, an elderly man who had lived in the building for decades, about Apartment 406. His face darkened. "You should leave." "Why?" she asked, her stomach twisting. He sighed. "A man used to live there, quiet guy, kept to himself. One day, he just disappeared. The landlord found his clothes neatly folded on the bed, his wallet on the table. But he was gone. Only thing left was his shadow." Lena frowned. "His shadow?" The old man nodded. "People say they still see it in that apartment, a figure standing in the closet. Some say he's trapped. Others say he's looking for someone new to take his place." A chill ran down Lena's spine. That night, she placed a camera facing the closet and set it to record. She locked the door again and sat in bed, watching the screen. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the feed glitched. For a second, it went completely black. Then the image returned. The closet door was wide open, and standing inside was a dark figure. Lena's breath caught in her throat. It had no face, no features, just a tall, inky black shape. And then slowly, its head turned toward the camera. The screen cut to static. A piercing screech filled the room, not from the camera, but from inside the closet. Lena dropped the phone and scrambled to turn on the light. When she did, the closet door was shut, padlock intact. The next morning, she packed her things. She didn't bother asking for her deposit back. She left Apartment 406 and never looked back. A week later, a new tenant moved in. They lasted one night. The landlord never mentioned Apartment 406 again. But sometimes, at exactly 3:12 a.m., the neighbors swear they hear something. Scratching, whispering, breathing.